Republican politicians already have government health care plans, which is a good thing because clearly they're sick. Our fourth story tonight, the GOP takes a break on health care, kind of a psychotic one. Patient number one, Senator Chuck Grassley, diagnosis, possible dementia, telling a town hall in Iowa he opposes the public option because he wants the public to have options. Doing nothing to rebuke a man also who threatened Grassley's fellow lawmakers, saying, quote, "I'd take a gun to Washington if enough of you would go with me." Patient 2, GOP Chair Michael Steele, diagnosis, whiplash. 3 years ago, saying cuts to Medicare had to be on the table. Yesterday, releasing a seniors' health care bill of rights, promising to protect Medicare. Today, calling Medicare, quote, "a very good example of what we should not have happen with all of our health care." And then there is patient 3, Senator Dr. Tom Colburn, diagnosis, pronounced cardiac deficiency. Or in layman's terms, he's utterly heartless. A constituent told him her husband had suffered a traumatic brain injury. He's on a feeding tube. They have insurance. It will not cover trained help nor a nursing home. You will hear Colburn respond that her neighbors should help out, but not, of course, via their government, and that his office will help even though his office is the government.
We left the nursing home and they told us we're on our own, and I'm trying to get him to eat and drink again, and this means so much to me.
Well, I think, first of all, yeah, we'll help. The first thing we'll do is see what we can do individually to help you through our office. But the other thing that's missing in this debate is us as neighbors helping people that need our help. You know, we tend to... The idea that the government is the solution to our problems is a very inaccurate statement.
Let's turn to Chris Hayes, Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Sure, ma'am. Ask your neighbors for the $400 grand for the round-the-clock nursing care. What the hell is the matter with these people?
Well, look, I mean, the only way to make sense of the tape that you just played in all three instances is to understand that, first and foremost, the objective here is to kill the bill and to issue a political defeat to the president and to the Democratic Party. Everything sort of derives from that. So what you're seeing is there's a complete inconsistency internally. I mean, the arguments that are emanating from the right and from the Republicans are a logical mess. They're self-contradictory. They're for Medicare. They're not for Medicare. They love Medicare and they hate government-run health care. Your neighbors should feed your ill husband. I mean, there is no consistency because it's not being engaged in good faith. It's a bad faith effort to construct a series of arguments around a political objective, which is to destroy the bill.
Senator Colburn seemed to give himself away there. Individual people can help, and his office can help when it gets to decide how it should or can help. But there's no way that people could come together in the form of, you know, a government and decide to change things for themselves, for everybody, for the better. Is that the heart of this?
Look, civilization on this planet has had charity-based healthcare for a long time. I mean, during the bubonic plague, way back in the bad old days before we had, sophisticated welfare states, etc. And, sure, fine. I mean, I guess if you're in the, 9th century, then, and you can drag yourself ill to the local church and get some charity care, that's fine. But that's not the way that a country in the 21st century takes care of this fundamental public issue. I mean, we come together, as you said, through a government, through self-governance, to address these things. This is not something that is just to be tossed off as a realm of charity.
The government will pay for the paint with which to mark the cross on the door, however, if you're in that situation. On the issue of violence, the Senate used to be this chamber of grown-ups, of comedy, and now we have Grassley tolerating, just basically ignoring threats of violence against fellow senators, threats almost of overthrowing the government. This is who the Democrats are counting on for bipartisanship?
You know, I have to say, I thought that was really disgusting that Grassley didn't say anything, and I don't use that word lightly. As a politician, it very often happens that you are in environments in which you can't control, and in town halls, people are going to say all sorts of things, and you can't control what people says, and that's part of what makes our, you know, crazy, wonderful democracy what it is. But you have an obligation when people say things like that to make a point of expressing the fact that you do not think that's an okay thing to say, and I think it just shows where Grassley is at in this. I think he's been captured by the most extreme, crazy elements of the right in this, and yet somehow he's sitting across on the negotiating table. It makes no sense. He has to pick a side, and he has shown very clearly which side he's on.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that side has another side to it that transcends politics. I mean, we had another gun guy show up at a healthcare protest, only this one was pro-reform, and he told Talking Points memo part of the reason he went in armed was in response to the gun wielders on the anti-side. If we just stipulate this is not a good thing for anybody under any circumstances, what does it mean?
Well, look, I don't know. I don't want to draw any large conclusions. I mean, it's a very big country with a lot of guns, it should be noted. And so far, this country has been in, you know, the last several decades blessed comparatively with very little political violence. But that's not set in stone, and everybody needs to just, you know, take a deep breath and bring it down a notch here.
Amen. Chris Hayes of The Nation. Great thanks.
Thank you.
There's been lots of talk about dropping the public option and not extending to all Americans the health care plan enjoyed by seniors, veterans, and members of Congress. As such, we'd like to walk you through a world with no public options. First, you wake up to the sound of someone robbing your house. You call 911, but you don't have police insurance, so they don't come. You start your car to go to work, but it bursts into flame. The fire department comes to put it out, but you can't make the copay, so burn, baby, burn. Now you walk to work, which saves you money because all the highways are toll roads. Not that you could afford the fees anyway. At the office, you're sued for sexual harassment, but when it goes to trial, the plaintiff outbids you in the private courts, and you lose. Soon, a private corporation buys control of the atmosphere and charges you for the air you breathe. And since a lack of oxygen in your lungs is a pre-existing condition, you won't qualify for air insurance, and you'll just have to die.
This message brought to you by a random a-hole who wants to make the healthcare debate even more confusing.